Dude, I'm looking forward to the group of cronies, kooks, and billionaires Trump turns the keys to the castle over to. He's over there. I saw him like election night. It was interesting to see who his inner circle was. The people at Mar-a-Lago with him watching results, and it was Dana White and Elon Musk, one on either side of him. And it was like, this is great. I love this so much.
No insult to Dana White. Sure, he's a great guy, but it's like he's so. I don't know anything about him. I figured you guys liked him because he's a UFC guy, but
self-made billionaire.
He's cool self-made billionaire, sure. But
slaps
like
his wife around, keeps her in line.
He's a little out of
disciplinarian.
He's a little, overshadowed in that threesome there with Elon.
See, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. Out of the three of them, he's the best communicator. When it came time to get on stage, Trump was sleepy when it was time to give his speech. He was, we're gonna do good things for America. I gotta do those good things. He's like, I'm gonna let somebody else talk. JD, you want to talk to him? And like JD Vance, of course, he had some coffee because he's an adult man. And like he had energy. He talked well. But then they threw it over to Dana White. And Dana White acted like it was a UFC fight. This man right here. And he's like pumping him up. And then he like gave a shout out. He's like, I want to give a shout out to the Nelk Boys and the Joe Rogan Experience and Theo Vaughn. Woo! It was like,
so I know Dana White's only a billionaire, maybe 2 billion. I don't know. But he's the only guy who wasn't born with a silver spoon in that trio. And I respect that a lot.
I don't know as much about him. And so like when I saw that picture, I was like, that's so interesting. Like
he was a broke jazzercise instructor at one point in his life.
Well, then I retract all the negativity.
Yeah.
He must have done a great job. You've changed my mind.
Trump has never fixed his own car trying to save money.
No. 0% chance.
No. Yeah. Although,
Elon has, ironically, in a roundabout way.
Okay.
Trying to fix it in a production vehicle.
I like that. I always that little interesting factoid about Elon that he doesn't own a house was always interesting to me. That he just rents some small place or some shit. He did Rogan again this week. Rogan's on some crazy kick of guests because he went like Trump, JD Vance, Elon Musk, and
he got what's his Fetterman.
Him putting RFK in, he says he's going to let RFK into the FDA or something. I think, RFK has talked about his anti-vax beliefs. I did see an interview from him today where he essentially said, I'm not taking anyone's vaccines away. If you want a vaccine, you can have a vaccine. We just want to look into things. And they mentioned Fruit Loops and how many ingredients were in a box of Fruit Loops compared to like a box of Canadian Fruit Loops. Like we want to fix that.
The food shit I'm so down for. Like taking a serious look at why we have all these like weird diseases at higher rates than other countries, like autoimmune stuff. Like a lot of it has to come from our food. And our food is like illegal in most other countries. So if we can actually get RFK, a jacked 70-year-old who, if anything, he should be the one letting someone with a nice voice communicate for him. He can like whisper.
You can also restrict hormones.
Like I would like that. Definitely. Let's fix our food.
I love the idea of fixing our food. I think it starts with farm subsidies. That's just my opinion. That's why we use corn syrup everywhere instead of sugar or stevia. I love the idea of fixing healthcare prices. Why do we pay so much more for drugs? What? Just instantly let America buy drugs abroad. Like that seems like a super easy thing to do. And now if you charge $60,000 for something in Raleigh and $60 in Mumbai, I'm buying from Mumbai. Fuck you.
Yeah. Stop letting these pharmaceutical companies rake us over the coals.
Yeah.
Like they have way too much power.
Isn't Mark Cuban's thing a good alternative? I don't know what medications you guys take, but you should tell everyone now. But you can go on there and you can look up like
just something to lower T. It's such a problem for me to be this masculine.
Actually, I'm not going to say because they're not sponsoring tonight's episode.
I hope RFK doesn't get in there and try to like restrict hormones to try to cut down on to take them away from trans children or something, but end up taking them away from guys like me who need a little shot of tea every now and then.
No, if you're using it to get jacked, 2 thumbs up.
JFK will be
okay.
Wait,
the reason I think RFK will be cool like that is because he's clearly on juice already.
Yeah, dude, he's like 75 years old and he's jacked.
A positive thing for me about Trump, Jackie cannot get on board with this, but Trump says he's going to bring Elon in to make the government more efficient. I just read how we're paid something like 80,000% too much for washers and soap dispensers on airplanes, as military airplanes. And it's like we're paying something like $18,000 for a soap dispenser. And Elon's supposed to come in and clean all that shit up. And Jackie's like, Elon's not the good guy. And it's like, can we admit that maybe he does have some positive attributes, that like he's good at something business wise, cost cutting or something? Like he came into Twitter, removed, I'm going to make up a number, like 2/3 of the staff, and Twitter's still up.
Yeah.
Did you hear Elon? They asked Elon how much money he thought he could cut out. Did you hear the number?
I'd love to.
Probably a ton.
2 trillion.
I mean,
he's like, oh, I could save us 2 trillion right away.
Dude, there's so much government. I'm 100% on board with Woody here. Like, I don't have a delusion that's going to fix all the problems, but like, we can never tax our way out of the hole we're in. Like, it's a spending issue. Like, we spend an absurd amount and we get taken for a ride by the exact kind of thing you're talking about, which is the fucking uncle of some senator makes washers in a factory and gets some advantageous contract that isn't allowed to be competed on. And then they sell us washers for, $85 a piece instead of 2 cents.
It could be that. I have a different theory. We could both be right too, which is the people buying it are so disconnected from the source of the money, they don't care about the price. It's like
also true.
My job is to make sure you have the soap dispensers you need. And if I pay $18,000 a pop, people pat me on the back for getting it done.
Yeah.
And no one cares about the cost.
Yeah. It's like that old King of the Hill episode where the army barber Bill is cutting a general's hair, and Hank is there, and Hank's like, so you're telling me, General, you spent $95,000 on this chair for cutting your hair in? And he's like, yeah, of course we did. But you see where they get the savings is we only spend $2.2 billion on a bomber. You find a bomber for $2.2 billion. That's
a good point.
Yeah, that's like they spend way too much money, and you're 100% right. They're too disconnected from it. To them, it's just funny money. It's infinite. Print more or tax more. And so, a little accountability with government spending, that would be fantastic. And it's something they don't really seem to care about. So having anyone in charge of it with a good business acumen can't hurt.
All right, so like that's all. Let's all hope that goes the way we want it to.
When you
that
have
cannot be true. That cannot.
Country.
Zach, double fact check that before. That cannot be true. That cannot be true.
Don Jr. can't nominate people. You goof.
Well, he's not.
Zach
nominated.
said Alex Jones accepted Don Jr.'s nomination to be the new press secretary for the incoming Trump administration. There's a clip of Don Jr. saying it.
Oh my God. I would imagine that's bait, but can you imagine how combative Alex Jones is going to be in that role? Oh, like, Mr. Jones, we're pulling out of Ukraine rapidly. They're losing ground immensely. What are we going to do? He's like, listen, first of all, shut the fuck up. It's fine. Everything's fine. You're a wimp. Look how jacked I am now. Did you notice that? Look at this. Boom.
RFK's gotten a hold of him. He's huge.
No, have you seen Alex Jones recently?
I haven't.
Does he look good?
He's getting jacked again. Like I saw him flexing, and it wasn't like the fat flex as much. His arms looked pretty big.
Okay.
Which I believe. I believe he's juiced up, but also like people who have had a lot of muscle in the past, it's easier for them to jump back to it than to forge it for the first time.
That'll be hilarious. Zach's suggesting that maybe Trump is going to have a new press secretary every month or so and cycle them out. Alex Jones would be just a complete embarrassment for the country. So let's hope he does that. Let's hope he does that, I guess.
It doesn't seem that wild though. He put Omarosa as a senior cabinet official his first time around.
What did she do though? Like
nothing, I guess. She just created internal strife and division. And
she was just kind of like office cheerleader or something. I feel like, or maybe she like Omarosa is going to find waste in the office or something. But like appointing someone is kind of different. I don't know where RFK is going. I don't know where Elon's going to. I wonder if Elon's going to get an appointment of some kind.
Elon to me is a bit of a Rorschach test. Like I don't want to throw my wife under the bus, but she doesn't see any positive in this guy. And it's like how can you not admit that he's pretty good at running companies? He's had a couple home runs he's hit here. He's a good batter. And if he's going to come in and look for waste, it seems like that's almost the thing he's best at.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I see no downside to that, And I like Elon. Like, it seems like he lied about his cars being able to drive themselves, but I bet he believed they'd be able to drive themselves eventually, He's probably as surprised as we are, as disappointed as we are that his cars don't drive themselves. But just about everything else has been pretty goddamn impressive. He is weird.
I think he knowingly lies about timelines.
For sure.
It's the thing I always say. Like, if you say it'll take 2 weeks and it took you 2.5, you were wrong. If you say it'll take 2 weeks and it took 2 years, you were lying from the start.
It's almost like he's got an exaggeration formula he uses. Oh, like Scotty has one for the Enterprise.
You're right.
If it's going to take him an hour, he tells Kirk it's going to take 5 hours. So when he fixes it in 2 hours, which is easy, the Kirk's blown away. I feel like he's almost doing that. Like, they tell him it's going to take 10 years to make the cars drive themselves, and it's like, let's tell him 5 and apologize.
I guess so. Well, Trump won.
It's almost
happening.
unbelievable. Yeah. Like I bet it is upsetting for people who truly dislike him and truly think he's going to do something awful. This guy's such a goober. Why does he have access to those things? Haven't they? Aren't they selling all of his possessions to make up for what how he terrorized the Sandy Hook victims' families?
I think they're trolling me. And I'm trying not to let it work, but I'm not really thriving right now, Kyle. I'm getting trolled by Alex Jones and Don Jr., and I know they love what they're doing to people like me.
Yeah,
but
I mean, maybe so. They know it's getting under people's skin, and they like it because they got so much. Like that they're the butt of so many jokes that we don't even know about, and their families probably get a lot of guff. So this is their victory lap. Like, I get it for sure. I hope Alex Jones isn't going to be the press secretary, though. That'd be a bit much. Trump had I thought his press secretaries were always like good. I thought they were good at explaining why he said a thing. They were always pretty smart women, if I remember correctly. They were good at what they did. But Alex Jones would be a nightmare in that position, and I don't think he could fulfill his duties correctly. Because that is the mouthpiece of the White House.
They weren't all pretty, unless you like Huckabee Sanders.
Oh God, she's so hot. She's got that. She's got that third grade teacher who eats half the cupcakes at the bake sale. Look,
isn't she thinner now? Didn't she find Ozempic or whatever?
Good for her.
You can't
credit where it's due.
She's got resting man face.
Well, yeah.
She looks like Brock Lesnar's daughter.
Stream that shit.
No, that's kind of fun. I've been the new.
Yeah, Alex Jones would be a disaster. Can you imagine if they actually?
It'd be terrible.
Is he? You're probably right.
You're awful.
You need to be. That job requires him to be super well informed about the president's agenda, as well as the day-to-day goings on of any number of areas of the federal government. He needs to be able to field questions on the fly about everything from NASA to the Middle East to Donald Trump's travel itinerary. Like, it's a hard job, and it's not what he is going to excel at.
It's not that he couldn't talk on those things. It's that he doesn't have broad appeal. Like, people would go into anything he said going, oh, this guy's just going to lie about everything. Like, there would be no credibility there. He would literally do better picking that comedian who made the Puerto Rico joke and have him do it. Like, that would be
Tony Hinchcliffe.
You know what I want to
happen? Great.
I hope on day one the press secretary has a gigantic oversized suit again. Do you remember Sean Spicer's suit? Am I the only one?
No, I remember making a joke that it looked like he just
he was in his dad's clothes.
He got hit by a shrink ray 3 seconds ago.
Can I say that? And little things like that I'm like, how does that happen in a professionally run, like, big league organization of people? The biggest one ever was, remember when Giuliani had the big press conference outside that fertilizer store in an alley?
Four Seasons Landscaping.
Yeah, they wanted to have, for those who don't know, the Four Seasons is kind of a luxury hotel. He wants to have his press conference to explain how the election has been stolen from Donald Trump, and he wants to schedule it the Four Seasons. But somebody just typed in Four Seasons and clicked the first result, and they got Four Seasons Landscaping. So instead of being at a fancy hotel with a backdrop of luxury behind them, They're in an alley behind a landscaping company, and not a big one or a good one.
Just a local landscape.
Just a local, like mom and pop, like dirty alley, and they don't have time to reschedule. And there they are. That might be when Giuliani started melting too, when his like hair dye started.
I definitely remember that picture.
It was, if not, it was in the same news cycle. It had happened like the day before, and it was. There's like, these guys are a fucking joke. These guys are a fucking joke.
Trump hires the worst people, and I hope he does. I mean, he's my president now, so I hope he does a much better job. But it was one of the knocks on him, in my opinion. Like, yeah, I phrase it as, I like it when I didn't know the postmaster general's name, but yeah, when he put a coal executive in charge of the EPA, I'm like, come on.
Did you hear him talk about that to Rogan?
No, tell me more. Am I misinformed?
He was talking about how overwhelming it was when he just first started governing. He's like, they need they bring you these lists of like 1,000 positions that need filling now, and I've never heard of any of these people, so I've just got to take the advice of the people around me. What do you think about, was it Bill Stevenson? What do you think about him? You don't want Bill. No, pick Gil. You know, and they're guiding him through, and he's just like clicking names at random. So I think this time he does know a lot more. He's done it for a while.
Transition team was a mess. Like, he barely had a transition team because I don't think he expected to win in 16. Nope. So Chris Christie was leading it, and then he fired Chris Christie while leading it a few weeks in. So then they had this sort of change in direction, and they got a lot of bad people.
That is the biggest fear with Trump, is that he wittingly or unwittingly surrounds himself with like hawkish pro-war neocons again, and then is hamstrung in like trying to get out of foreign conflicts or make us more protectionist or return manufacturing or whatever. Because if he brings a bunch of free trade, treat America like an economy instead of a nation, people, like, that's what's going to happen again. And so that is my biggest fear, is that I see who he's putting in all these positions, and it's just status quo neocons.
Yeah,
I do not want to see that.
I think they're going to have a better grasp of it this time, from beginning to end.
He should be better at everything this time around,
for sure.
And I mean, some people wearing their blue t-shirts are going to say, I didn't do this on purpose, are going to be like, oh, better at everything is not a good thing. He's just going to be more effective at implementing what they don't like. But I'm hoping for the best.
I almost wore a MAGA hat.
You almost wore one?
Yeah, I thought it'd be funny.